Sham, and together we are Boxing and Bantz.
That's right. So we are joined by the co-founders of IQ Boxing, Nicholas Prempeh, Xavier Miller, who is also head trainer to Dillian Whyte. Welcome, guys. Glad to have you guys here. We're super excited about this one.
Welcome, both of you. Obviously, you know, we've interviewed so many of your boxers now. We thought it'd be good to, you know, meet the team behind those boxes. So thanks for joining us. So, question to both of you: how did you guys meet, and why did you set up IQ Boxing?
I think Nick answered that one.
So myself and Zav met each other in education. We both worked together, and from quite early on, you know, we seemed to get along, which is quite weird for both of us, because people would think we wouldn't, considering the different personalities. But we got on really, really well. Found out that we both had a passion for sports for young people. Realized that we both enjoyed boxing, and it was Zav's idea first to sort of say, let's open up a sports centre originally, and then as we was talking, you know, it became clearer and clearer by day that it was boxing that we both wanted to get into. And, you know, birth IQ Boxing somewhat 9-10 years ago from now, and we've been going strong ever since. But, you know, that's the story behind how we met. It was Zav was doing some supply work at the school I was working in part-time, and yeah, we just built our relationship from there.
Nice. So at what point do you guys make the decision to move an amateur to a pro? Is that a joint decision between you both? And do you include the boxer in that decision? How does it work?
I'll let Zav answer that one.
Go on, Zav.
Yeah, I mean, you know, originally we just wanted to open a boxing gym. We wanted to try and help the young people, you know, avoid knife crime, gun crime, and so on. So it's more about mentoring and educating the youth, really, and giving them like a safe environment to, you know, to function. So, and because we both like boxing, we said we're going to open a boxing gym. We wanted our guys to start competing. We weren't necessarily going to enter the amateurs. We didn't really care what kind of tournament we went into. We just wanted to start getting the guys moving, because we wanted to have professional boxers. But then we decided to say, you know, we'll open an amateur boxing gym, and then we'll build fighters through the amateur system, and then to turn pro. And everything, to be honest with you, we had a plan, and we had deadlines, and we actually managed to stick to it, because we said, you know, 2016 was the year that we were going to start, you know, moving from the amateurs to the pros. I wouldn't say moving, because we're still running an amateur boxing gym, but the guys that we've been building, we want them to turn pro with us, and we got our licenses, and we got our pro licenses. So everything, to be honest with you, has gone exactly to plan so far. Even in regards to titles, we weren't looking to go for titles until 2020, till this year. That's when we're going to start going for our first titles. But you know, I managed to get hold of a couple of fighters that were kind of advanced and raised up the titles a bit earlier. And we managed to just pick up a couple of titles before then. So, but yeah, it's gone really, really well. It could not have gone any better.
Okay, and you know, have you ever had a time where you've gone from, you know, taking a boxing from amateurs to pros, and you know, you've kind of felt like maybe it was too early, or not the right decision to make?
Oh, that's a good one. I think ultimately the answer would be no, because the way in which myself and Zav are, we're quite meticulous in every decision we make. And Zav will tell you, before we even do anything, I think of every possibility that can go wrong before we even make that decision. So in terms of the boxers, we've been quite privileged that they've all made the progress in which we've sort of anticipated, and have got to the level where the transition to becoming a professional has been quite easy. And I think that's partly down to the training in which we have at the club. We train our fighters, regardless whether they're amateurs or pros, to have a professional style, a style that they can take forward, which makes the transition a lot easier. I won't lie to you, there have been times when we've been in the corner and I've said to Zav, I'm not sure about this one, you know? And he sort of like, no, they'll be all right, they'll be all right. I'm like, I hope so. But ultimately, you know, before we make that decision, we are really, really meticulous, and in doing that, we make sure that when we do get them ready for pros, that we have the appropriate opponent for them when they are making their debut and stuff. And you know, a lot of that goes down to Zav. Zav's quite meticulous in terms of opponents, and then I guess my meticulous nature kicks in when I start looking back at the amateur background and start thinking what styles were difficult for them, or where did they find it difficult, so that we're able to bridge that gap with pro and amateur and pro.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nick, this one's for you again. Sorry. So have you ever considered becoming a professional boxer in your earlier years before your coaching journey?
Answer to that question is no, because I'm too pretty. I don't want to get my face mashed up. But
so humble.
No, at one point. No, do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I flirted with the idea for a little bit, but the sort of person I am, I've always enjoyed coaching. I've been coaching, you know, sports and boxing in particular from such a young age that I get more enjoyment out of that element of boxing than I would have ever competed. But every so often, you know, I get the itch and I'll jump in with the ring of the boxers, or Zav especially, and have a move around to try and curb that desire to want to go and box. But ultimately, no. I've always wanted to be a coach, and it's a decision that I made quite early, and I'm happy that I stuck with it, and I'm seeing it throughout right now.
Great. And Zav, you know, congratulations on, you know, taking over as Dillian Whyte's head trainer earlier on this year. There was a little bit of, you know, it's quite mixed reviews online, and a little bit of criticism, you know, after taking over from Mark Tibbs. Did that bother you at all at the time? And, you know, what would you say to those people?
Didn't bother me or Nick one bit. We were actually laughing because the funny part is this: when people start questioning, you know, why you've been given a certain position, most people don't do their research. I'll be honest with you, a lot of named coaches that are working with established fighters, if you go back and look through what they've done beforehand, a lot of them is nothing. They've done zero. It's just because they knew somebody, or maybe their family's always been into boxing, maybe their dad or their brother was into boxing, and they got brought through. I never had that. Yeah. I'm carrying a name on my own. So they don't know that I started boxing at 13, 14. That was the first gym I ever went to. You know, a couple of amateur bouts. I never wanted to be a coach in the first place. I was prepped to be a professional fighter. You know, me and my coach had dreams and aspirations of being like multi-weight world champion. He died very early, and I couldn't pass a medical to get a professional boxing license. So then I turned to coaching. But the reason why I've become a good coach is because I had a good coach. But most people don't know the journey. So that's why I would like, you know, like I said, you know, because me and Nick have established our own club. I mean, me and Nick were competing against amateur clubs that have been around for years. Yeah. For years. We only opened in 2013, and we were competing in box cups and national tournaments and so on and so forth. And we had guys, we had some of our guys going to Germany, to Denmark to box, and they were getting box of the night and stuff like that. So people don't understand that the foundation was already set. So, you know, I've been prepped to do this for a long time, and lucky enough, I've had very, very good friends in the business where I've already been involved in big fights long before I met any of the guys that I'm working with now. So I've been comfortable and ready to go. If you ask Nick seriously, I wanted to do this maybe 3 years before we actually did. I would have liked to be here where I am now, like at least 3 years ago, because I was ready to go. But me and Nick are very, very loyal people. So the professional the amateur boxers that we had, that we were building and developing, we wanted to all do this at the same time. So I had to hold fire and say, you know what? No, I want to come through with them. And because they've been so loyal towards us, you know, they left the club they were at. And some of them came from clubs like All-Star Boxing Club, which has been around forever. And they came to our small club. You know, we had a boxing club in a community centre. And they stuck with us, you know, the wins, the losses. And we said, no, we're going to do this together. So that's why we held fire. And I'm really glad we did, because we managed to inherit some good fighters before we actually turned pro.
Yeah, and I think it shows. You know, I think the proof is in the pudding. It shows by the quality of boxers that are, you know, in and coming out of your gym.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow. So Zav, another question for you. What was the feeling like in the camp after Whyte lost to Povetkin, and who do you feel he might fight next?
I was devastated, to be honest, personally, because, you know, Dillian had been on a very good run. You know, he'd gone unbeaten since the Joshua fight, and you know, then I get given this responsibility, and he boxes one of the best he's ever boxed, and then gets hit with one shot, and like your whole world just comes crumbling down at that moment. But Dillian's a very strong character. I mean, he rebuilt himself after Joshua lost, beat a lot of good fighters. He's got one of the best resumes in heavyweight boxing, period. So, you know, he was very positive about it. He said, you know, we need to go again. We need to get this rematch sorted. So, and to answer your second question, that's all we're focused on, to be honest with you. I'm only interested in getting revenge against Povetkin. We want to fight everybody. I want to fight all the guys, to be honest with you, all of them. I think Dillian beats every single one of them. He's just so versatile. He can do so much. But yeah, the Povetkin fight is what we're focusing on. And to be honest, I think in the next day or two, the new date is going to be announced anyway. So that looks like the direction that we're going in. That's what I've been told so far.
Amazing.
That's good.
We need to see he needs to get his revenge back.
Definitely.
We're all here for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick, you mentioned that obviously, you know, you and Zav sometimes jump in the ring and spar it out between you. So which one of you guys normally comes out on top?
Yeah, we want.
He's a bully. He's a bully.
Who's the bully? Who's the bully?
He's a bully. He's a bully.
You, Nick? Really?
I don't think that is true whatsoever. Anyone who you know, that any of the fighters who you guys know you've interviewed, ask them. Just drop them a message and ask them who initiates the trouble. Who initiates the trouble? I think they'll all find out. They'll say it's Zav. To be fair, I think when we get in there, it's just usually just a bit of fun, just for us to move about. Some days, you know, Zav will go on wicked and bad and start, you know, his little old pro tricks and things like that. But he calls me a bully because I'm bigger than him. But you know, I guess it's not my fault. I'm naturally bigger. But to be fair, you know, we do it just to keep ourselves ticking over and so that we're able to move around the boxes. But I guess the boxers like it because they get to wind us up in the gym. Because if I walk in after, you know, I've been at work or wherever, get into the gym, someone always says, "Oh, Zav said this," and all of a sudden we start going back.
He's just being diplomatic because you two young ladies are here. This guy is a
talk the truth then.
Nick will come in the gym and Nick will say to me, "Don't talk to me unless you can grab stuff on the top shelf because you're too short." Don't try it. And that's where the trouble starts. That's where we end up sorting out our business in the ring.
I think you'll find there are Instagram posts that say differently, but you know what? It is what it is. But it's good fun.
No, I'll put up a poll today. Who is the bully in the gym?
I'll wait to see that. So, guys, we've interviewed a few of your boxers that you train, and they all say how you're more than a trainer and you're more of a friend and a mentor, which is great credit to you guys, obviously. How do you develop that close-knit relationship with the boxers that you train?
Oh, that's a good question. I think myself and Zav are completely different in that light in terms of we've got different ways in which we manage our relationships with each of the fighters. You know, Zav's really close with some of them, I'm really close with others. But I think we're quite good in picking out, you know, which fighters, our skills, our personal skills, our personalities will match with the best. I think what I would say is that I got a bit more patience than Zav when it comes to them. It feels like for him, Zav is the parent you don't go to ask anything for. You come to me and ask. And Zav is the tough love and straight and narrow. But I think maybe it comes from our background in education as well, knowing the importance of relationships and knowing going that little bit further, you're able to achieve or get a little bit more out of the fighter that you're working with. And, you know, I guess it's just how we are as people. You know, we just want the best for them. Like Zav said earlier on, we didn't start the club up in terms of a money-making business or anything. We just started it with giving people the opportunity to achieve their dreams in boxing or better their lives. And I guess that's what comes out in relationships we have with our boxers.
Yeah. And again, to both of you, do you feel that trainers and coaches get, you know, the appropriate kind of credit given to them for what, you know, for what you guys do behind the scenes? And what sort of personal sacrifices, you know, do you guys have to make, you know, along with the boxer as they go through their journey?
Well, for me personally, my coach always said to me that, you know, his props and his praise will come from how good his fighters look. He said, well, you go out there and you look good, then everybody will say, well, you know, I'm a good coach. So in respect to him and in honour of him, I'm trying to do the same thing. I don't really want to be screaming and shouting to anybody about how good I am. I want people to watch the fighters that I've got and, you know, watch and see how far they go with their journey, you know, how many belts they can pick up. You know, and more than anything else, for them to be entertaining. I want people to say, you know what, yeah, he was in a good fight. You know, I want to see him again. Yeah. I mean, you know, as long as they technically look good, then people will say, yeah, well, who's his coach? You know, the guys that we've had out on shows, you know, especially a lot of their debuts. And the first thing a lot of the coaches in the arena are asking before they even knew who me and Nick were, is that fighter look really good? Who's his coach? Like, has he got a full-time coach? They ask crazy stuff like that. So when you hear that, then you know you're doing something right. So I don't think that the coach needs to scream and shout how good they are. I think the fighter should be the vocal one, and they should really be praising their trainer for how good they are.
Great. So guys, what's your thoughts on the recent fight between AJ and Pulev?
You can go first.
AJ.
I thought he looked really good. When you look at these fighters, you have to look early at their career and then look later. Like if you look early in Terence Crawford's career, Errol Spence, they look completely different to what they do now. I mean, to someone who doesn't understand boxing, they might not see it, but we can see the development. You go and look in there like their second, third pro fight, and then go and look in there at their 25th, 26th fight, you can see the development. With Anthony Joshua, you know, he's making smarter decisions. You know, he was a little bit reckless, you know, in some of his fights earlier in his career. He's a bit more careful now, and he picks his spots and he's a bit more patient, and that's development. So to me personally, I thought he looked good. It's not as entertaining, and I know that's what people really want is entertainment, but at the end of the day, you know, the W is the most important thing. So I think he did really well. I was quite pleased with the performance today.
Yeah. Nick?
To echo a lot of what Zav said, for me, it's the amount of period of time he's been in boxing. He's not, you know, he didn't have a really established amateur career. He was quite accelerated when the Olympics turned over. You know, he's got huge pressure on his shoulders. But I think what he's done really well is brought people in his camp to make him look better and help him boxing as he's gone along. And to me personally, I thought Saturday's fight was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed watching it. You could see there was a conflict of styles with him at some points. He really wanted to open up and go and be his normal aggressive self, but he stuck to the game plan. And for me, you know, that shows the sign of a really good fighter mentally, being able to adjust and see out the plan that him and his coaches have worked on for weeks prior to the fight. So for me, it was a really, really good fight to watch. You know, I really enjoyed it, you know, and I think Anthony, you know, is getting himself to a point where, you know, if he does fight Fury, it'll be a really good 50-50 fight. I don't think it's one-sided as many people see it.
Agreed. And individually, who are you guys, you know, favourite boxers of all time?
Mine's Evander Holyfield. It's Evander Holyfield. He's just to me, he's just a complete fighter. He could box on the outside, he could box on the inside. You know, I think he's the only maybe two-way undisputed world champion, because undisputed champion in the cruiserweight, then moved to heavyweight, became undisputed. But he boxed everybody. Whoever was number one contender, Evander Holyfield fought them. And you know, when he had to defend his belts against Bo, he was just, I think he was just over 14.5 stone, and Bo was nearly 18 stone, and he's still standing there and banging with him and trading with him. To me, there's no one quite like him. There's no one quite like him, and he's one of the guys that I used to study over and over again. So I love a lot of boxers. Tommy Hearn, one of my favourite. Ray Leonard. I like Terence Crawford. I like Errol Spence, but the stand-up for me is Evander Holyfield.
That's interesting because I don't hear that one quite, you know, a lot actually. But I guess I can understand what you mean from the all-round perspective and kind of being able to do it all. And Nick, who's yours?
Me, it's Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Entertainment.
That's my second favourite. Yeah.
For me, what's happened to my phone? Sorry, guys.
I'll see you in a minute.
I'm back. For me, yeah, Tommy Hitman Hearns. For me, it was just the entertainment and the way in which he did it. Being able to box behind that jab, and that right hand was dynamite. You know, if he hit you with it, you know, you weren't standing there with him. And you know, he come out of the Kronk gym, and I love, you know, that whole Kronk stable. One of the reasons why myself and Zav, you know, have our club the way which it is because of, you know, Emmanuel Stewart and the way in which he trained boxers and the way he made them look. But for me, you know, Tommy Hearns in that magical four of him, Duran, Leonard, you know, Hagler, and we all know about the fight between him and Hagler. I know it ended on the wrong side for Tommy, but, you know, 9 minutes of pure classic. And so, yeah, it's Tommy for me, man, all day, every day.
Final question. So what's the future plans for IQ Boxing, and will you be adding to your team that you have now?
Oh, I think it's natural that the team's going to grow. Once you do start working with a world-class fighter like Dillian, I've had text messages on Instagram, Facebook asking me if I've got the time to train them. At the moment, I don't, because I'm out here. Come this March, I would have been here for a year, so I don't have time to train anybody. Just thankfully, the likes of Kay Prosper, Youssef, Kamari, Yasser, they've come out here to do some training. So hopefully next year they'll be ready to go. But yeah, I think it's just going to keep growing and growing. And obviously the whole idea is to pass on. Me and Nick have come up together. Nick's got a lot more years than I have. So once Nick's done, then I'd like him to go and pass it on to my son, who by then might be, it's a business. The whole idea is to have a business that we can pass on. That's why it's IQ Boxing Limited, and whatever comes off of it is great. But it's a company and a business for our family. We want to be able to do what we want to do and then pass it on to them. So yeah, it's going to keep growing.
Nice to hear. I mean, when everything gets back to normal, whatever normal is now, we would love to come down and visit you guys and just, wrap it up really and shoot some content if we can,
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously when everything gets back to normal. But Nick, Zav, best of luck for your future plans in the industry. Tell the people where they can find you on social media and shout out your sponsors.
You go first, Nick. You're better with this stuff than me.
Okay, so the Insta is, if I remember correctly, official IQ Boxing. That's just our club. And then IQ Boxing, IQ Nicholas Prempeh is me. And I think Xavier is IQ. Xavier Miller now, is it? Or official Xavier Miller, one of the two. Can't remember correctly.
Official Xavier Miller, yeah.
The official _ Xavier Miller. Sponsors are Tiger Bay, KMT, Bravos, Ealing Boards and Timber. Have I forgot any?
No, I think that's it for now.
I think that is it. But yeah, we're thankful to all of those people, especially this year, because they've allowed us to keep on doing what we're doing. No matter how small or how big it is, they're always backing us. So a special thank you to all of them.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, guys, again for joining us today. So we are Katie and Sham at Boxing and Bantz, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
Guys.